organization since 11th November 2004, and Palestinian Fatah's main rival Hamas initially announced that it will not recognize the extension or view Abbas as the rightful president. Yet Abbas is internationally recognized, and Hamas and Fatah conducted numerous negotiations in the following years, leading to an agreement in April of 2014 over a unity government, which lasted until October of 2016, and therefore to the recognition of his office by Hamas. Abbas was also chosen as the president of the State of Palestine by the Palestine Liberation Organization's Central Council on 23rd November 2008, a position he had held unofficially since 8 May 2005. Abbas served as the first prime minister of the Palestinian Authority from March to September of 2003. Before being named prime minister, Abbas led the PLO Negotiations Affairs Department. Now look at issues internationally. Issues of 12th January. Just a couple of issues, not much. On 12 January 1991, the United States Joint Congress authorized President George Bush the use of American military force to drive Iraq out of Kuwait. The war against Iraqi forces by America and the Allied forces was codenamed Operation Desert Storm, as we earlier told you. The war was waged by coalition forces from 35 nations led by the United States against Iraq in response to Iraq's invasion and annexation of Kuwait arising from oil pricing and production disputes. The war is also known under other names such as the Persian Gulf War, the First Gulf War, Gulf War I, Kuwait War, First Iraqi War, or Iraq War. The Iraqi army's occupation of Kuwait was met with international condemnation and brought immediate economic sanctions against Iraq by members of the United Nations Security Council. Together with the United Kingdom's Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who had resisted the invasion by Argentina of the Falkland Islands a decade earlier, George H.W. Bush deployed U.S. forces into Saudi Arabia and urged other countries to send their own forces to the scene. An array of nations joined the coalition, forming the largest military alliance since World War II. The great majority of the coalition's military forces were from the United States, with Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom, and Egypt as leading contributors in that order. Kuwait and Saudi Arabia paid around $32 billion of the $60 billion cost. The war was marked by the introduction of live news broadcasts from the front lines of the battle, principally by the US network, the cable news network, CNN. The war has also earned the nickname Video Game War, after the daily broadcast of images from cameras on board US bombers during Operation Desert Storm. The initial conflict to expel Iraqi troops from Kuwait began with an aerial and naval bombardment on 17 January 1991, continuing for 5 weeks. This was followed by a ground assault on 24 February. This was a decisive victory for the coalition forces, who liberated Kuwait and advanced into Iraqi territory. The coalition seized its advance and declared a ceasefire 100 hours after the ground campaign started. Aerial and ground combat was confined to Iraq, Kuwait, and areas on Saudi Arabia's border. Iraq launched Scud missiles against coalition military targets in Saudi Arabia and against Israel. Then let's look at international diplomacy. 10th of January. On the 10th of January 1946, the first session of the United Nations General Assembly opened in London. 51 nations were represented. The first session of the UN General Assembly was convened in the Methodist Central Hall in London. The next few annual sessions were held in different cities. The second session in New York City and the third in Paris. It moved to the permanent headquarters of the United Nations in New York City at the start of its 7th regular annual session on 14th October 1952. In December 1988, in order to hear Yasser Arafat, the General Assembly organized its 29th session in the Palace of Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. The United Nations is an intergovernmental organization responsible for maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations amongst nations, achieving international cooperation, and being a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. It was founded as a fallout of World War II, which ended up as the most expensive and deadliest conflict in human history, with close to 100 million casualties worldwide. It is the largest, most familiar, most internationally represented, and most powerful intergovernmental organization in the world. Then let's take this very interesting story, which happened on the 15th of January 2009. Yes, on the 15th of January 2009, the most miraculous ditching in aviation history occurred when a pilot ditched a massive passenger airliner that lost both engines 2 minutes after takeoff in the Hudson River, saving the lives of all 155 persons on board. On 15 January 2009, United States Airways Flight 1549, a massive Airbus, collided with birds less than 2 minutes after takeoff, losing both engines mid-air. But the pilot miraculously ditched the plane safely in the Hudson River, saving the lives of all 155 passengers and crew members on board in what is today known as the Miracle of the Hudson. The Airbus, which in the climb out after takeoff from New York City's LaGuardia Airport, struck a flock of Canada geese just northeast of the George Washington Bridge and consequently lost all engine power. Unable to reach any airport, pilots Chesley Sullenberger and Jeffrey Skiles glided the plane to a ditching in the Hudson River of Midtown Manhattan. All 155 people aboard were rescued by nearby boats and there were few serious injuries. The accident came to be known as the Miracle on the Hudson, and a National Transportation Safety Board official described it as the most successful ditching in aviation history. The board nation that the pilot could have avoided ditching by returning to LaGuardia or diverting to nearby Teterboro Airport. The pilots and flight attendants were awarded the Master's Medal of the Guild of Air Pilots and Air Navigators in recognition of their heroic and unique aviation achievements. The pilots were hailed for their unimaginable achievements. The pilot in command was then 57-year-old Chesley B. Sullenberger, a former fighter pilot who had been an airline pilot since leaving the United States Air Force in 1980. At the time, he had logged in 19,663 total flight hours, including 4,765 in an A320. He was also a glider pilot and expert on aviation safety. The first officer was 49-year-old Jeffrey B. Skiles, who had accrued 15,643 career flight hours, but this was his first Airbus A320 assignment, since qualifying to fly it. There were 150 passengers and 3 flight attendants aboard. The ditching captured the worldwide attention and became one of the most memorable events of 2009 and one of the most memorable moments in aviation history. There's a movie on that of that event. There's a movie of that event called Sully. I think that movie is on YouTube. You can watch the movie from beginning to the end. Then you get a true story and some of the shenanigans that really happened because the captain, that is the pilot, wanted to be punished. They wanted to punish him actually, but the United States National Transportation Agency Board rejected that after carrying out a thorough investigation on what actually happened on the day. Plane losing both engines mid-air, and the pilot decided to ditch the plane in the river, saving all 155 persons on board. It was really a miracle. Then on 11th January, 1879, the Anglo-Zulu War began. The Anglo-Zulu War was fought between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom. Following Lord Carnarvon's successful introduction of federation in Canada, it was thought that similar political efforts, coupled with military campaigns, might succeed with the African kingdoms, tribal areas, and Boer republics in South Africa. In 1874, Sir Henry Battlefrere was sent to South Africa as High Commissioner for the British Empire to bring such plans into being. Among the obstacles were the presence of the independent states of the South African Republic and the Kingdom of Zululand and its army. Frere, on his own, without the approval of the British government and with the intent of instigating a war with the Zulu, had presented an ultimatum on 11th December 1878 to the Zulu king Akashwayo, with which the Zulu king could not comply, including disbanding his army and abandoning key cultural traditions. Batufere then sent Lord Chelmsford to invade Zululand after this ultimatum was not met. The war is notable for several particularly bloody battles, including an opening victory of the Zulu at the Battle of Isandwana, followed by defeat of a large Zulu army at Rocks Drift by a small force of British troops. The war eventually resulted in a British victory and the end of the Zulu nation's dominance of the region. I've been on this short break. I want to come back. Let's just listen to the Osama promo. His show is close already, very close. So we are going on a short break. When we come back, we'll now look at national events. We'll look at General Philip Effiong's signing of the Instrument of Surrender to end the Nigeria Civil War in 1970. That happened on the 12th of January 1970. And we'll also look at the 13th of January 1966, the Operation Tiger. That is an exercise that Mr. P started in Kaduna and 2 days later metamorphosed into a full-blown military rebellion. Please stay with us. The program remains Issues in Perspective. Don't go nowhere.
Will you shut up there? No. It's only from you this time. Entertainment presents Rhythm of Laughter 15 years anniversary. The Thanksgiving.
Yeah, on.
That one is on.
When
is on?
No, the other long one, that.
It was on.
Yeah. That one is on.
It's on.
But I noticed it was breaking things.
Put on the call back.
Eh?
People they call.
We missed like one call.
That should be a little back from what I'm going with.
You call back. Always the first call.
Yes.
For VIP and double bookings, call 070-544-36626. Who asked you? Aproko, you talk too much.
This show is powered by J101.9 FM, sponsored by National Conflicts, Maxi Taste Shop, Law Autos Limited, Ellipse International Limited, supported by Dr. Fish, Gagalicious Food and Events, DJ Expression, Janice Kitchen, Balada Hotel, UGC Transport Services, Smart Deep Beaches, Miss Palace, Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, Wavelength Graphic Solutions Limited, Josh's Creation, Pepsol, Plateau Express, Plateau State Internal Revenue Service, PSIRS, Standard Ultra One Shop 2 Bread, Todak TV, Dreams Nightclub, Amechi EA Prime Events, Mr. R Clothing, Beautiful Bride, The Point Hotel, Chatel Hotel, Mackenzie Trees, Jolex Construction.
Freedom of Laughter 15.0.
Osama, you know how to... You know when they celebrate 50 years? How many years you give self?
Which can see finish with this? What's it cost? How you cost?
Myself a shock.
Get out here! Show what's senior you. Nonsense. 70 years old man.
Hello, how you doing? Morning. Evening. Huh? Who? Pam, go downstairs. Yes.
Yeah, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Issues in Perspective, and it's a class of history. Yeah, Mazi Patrick Okorafor said something here yesterday, and it's very important what he said. You might just take it on the other side of a flip, but it's very important. Most of these things we are talking about, they have we have them written already by authors, various authors. So you can go to Rampam Street there. You find some of these vendors or some bookkeepers. You could get these books on Nigeria's political history, books on African history, even world politics. You could get most of these books there. You can just go through them. If you don't want to get them for yourself, you could get them for your children. It's very important for our kids to read, so that let them know how their past is a very important thing. On 12th of January 1970, before then, let me open the lines quickly, 08064641536. We'll call to make your contributions. On the 12th of January 1970, Biafran acting head of state, General Philip Effiong, signed the documents of the instrument of surrender, which led to the end of the 30-month blockade, otherwise known as Nigeria Civil War. Aliu Garba calling from Otonkon Road.
Thanks for having me, Mr. President, and thanks for giving me the ample opportunity to always make my input in this program. Mr. President, first and foremost, I will start with this conclusion. He who comes with equity must come with clean hands. The same Republicans who have watched their decadence in public, that is over 4 decades, if I'm not mistaken, who has always been at the forefront of their agenda. When it comes to their agenda setting, we thought maybe it's going to be a different ballgame this time around, but we're now beginning to see the broad daylight lobby. The invasion in Venezuela was condemned by us in totality, and as I speak to you, the unwarranted vicious breed of international law seems unabated and it continues. As I speak now, Trump wants to invade Greenland, he wants to invade Mexico, he wants to invade Colombia, as well as Cuba. Okay, when we said vital interest, he must have seen something in those places. That's why he's busy invading these places. Truth be told, these are all sovereign nations. Cuba is less than 100 kilometers from Cuba to America, but yet they have been practicing socialism under Fidel Castro, by extension to his predecessor, General Castro. We could see that as it means. We've seen when America was trying to send Iraqis out of Kuwait, because Kuwait is one place that has abundant, abundant natural and human resources. Okay, good. You see, already as I speak to you, the oil theft continues. Now as I speak to you, Trump is turning 50 billion barrels of Venezuelan oil to the U.S. What should we call this? Is it not an act of theft? Is it not stealing? So some of us are not against so when it comes to helping of the military hardware, it's fine. But you see, the military has shown that those places America has invaded in the past, go and check how it used to be previously and where they are today. That is my fundamental question and pertinent question to those with little or no sense of history Thanks for the privilege. I must make it.
Thank you very much, Ali Garba from Otonkon Road, for your contribution. That was incisive. The breakaway Republic of Biafra capitulated, bringing to an end the 30 months of enormously bloody blockade, otherwise known as the Nigeria Civil War. The Nigeria Civil War, also known as the Nigeria Biafran War, started on the 6th day of July 1967 and ended officially on the 15th of January 1970. Biafra surrendered on the 12th of January following the signing of the documents of the Instrument of Surrender by Biafran President General Philip Effiong. This was the war fought between the government of Nigeria and the secessionist state of Biafra. Some people call it the War of the Brothers. Biafra represented the nationalist aspiration of the Igbo people, whose leadership felt they could no longer coexist with the northern-dominated federal government. The conflict resulted from political, economic, ethnic, cultural, and religious tensions, which preceded Britain's formal decolonization of Nigeria from 1960 to 1963. Immediate causes of the war in 1967 included the Igbo-led 15 January 1966 military coup, which resulted in the murder of the Prime Minister of the Federation, 2 regional premiers, the Federal Minister of Finance, and top military officers, mostly of northern and western extractions. The July 29, 1966 counter-coup, which resulted in the death of Nigeria's Igbo head of state, Major General Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi, and the military governor of Western Region, Lieutenant Colonel Francis Adekunle Fajuyi, and several other officers and men of the Nigerian army, mostly of Igbo and Southern extractions, as well as the outbreak of the May riots, the Araba Test riots in northern Nigeria on the 29th of May 1966, where Igbos were persecuted. Also, the control over the lucrative oil production in the Niger Delta played a vital strategic role. Within a year, the federal government troops surrounded Biafra, capturing coastal oil facilities and the city of Port Harcourt. The blockade imposed during the ensuing stalemate led to severe famine. During the 2.5 years of the war, there were about 100,000 overall military casualties, while between 500,000 and 2 million Biafran civilians died of starvation. In mid-1968, images of malnourished and starving Biafran children saturated the mass media of Western countries. The plight of the starving Biafrans became a cause célèbre in foreign countries, enabling a significant rise in the funding and prominence of international non-governmental organizations that we now know today as the NGOs. Britain and the Soviet Union were the main supporters of the Nigerian government in Lagos, while France, Israel, and some other countries supported Biafra. France and Israel provided weapons to both combatants. I don't understand. Yeah, providing weapons for both sides. I don't understand this. Nigeria's head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, accepted Biafra's instrument of surrender 3 days after it was signed on behalf of the Supreme Military Council. That's on the 15th of January 1970 in Lagos, where he admitted the war created untold hardship for Nigerians and declared the now infamous "No Victor, No Vanquished" speech, officially ending hostilities. So we are going to look, while we are talking about this today, we're supposed to talk about this next week. We are talking about this today is that we are going to concentrate on the first Nigerian military coup by next week. And we'll still take you back to tell you about the remote causes, as we did here a week ago. We'll still talk about the remote causes. We'll tell about the Joseph Tucker, that is the Middle Belt uprising of 1960 to 1964. We'll tell about the 1964 federal elections, the flawed 1964 federal elections, the 1962-1963 controversial census figure, that created uproar everywhere, the 1965 Western Nigerian election, that was the fallout of a personality clash between the leaders of the Action Group, Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola. We'll tell you about that, then leading to January 15. Then we'll talk about the coup, looking at various regions, the Lagos operations, the Western operations led by Captain Emmanuel Wobosi. We'll look at the Midwestern and Eastern operation led by Lieutenant Jerome Ugochi. Then we'll look at the Kaduna operations led by Major Chukuma Kaduna Zogu. And the early morning announcement was supposed to come from Major Adewale Ademoyega in Lagos, but since the coup failed and all the officers were trying to scamper for safety, Nzoku made an audacious mid-afternoon announcement in Radio Nigeria, Kaduna. We'll give you that announcement. We'll play it live so that you listen to it. I think an 8-minute announcement. We'll play it live here so you can listen to it. Then we'll look at the aftermath. After that, he called for a meeting of all senior military officers resident in Kaduna as he was trying to orchestrate a military campaign against General Ironsi in Lagos to seize power. But he was advised by certain officers and he had to jettison that. We'll look at all that and we'll now look at the fallout of the rebellion. What happened after then? All the crises, the intricacies, the politics that followed that. We'll look at all that. But meanwhile, our lines are still open. You can call to make a contribution 08064641536. On 13th January 1966, a military operation codenamed Exercise Damisa began in the northern Nigerian town of Kaduna, and 2 nights later, the exercise metamorphosed into a full-blown military rebellion that forever changed the face of the nation. The chief instructor of the Nigerian Military Training College (NMTC) in Kaduna, Major Patrick Chukuma Kaduna Zogu, started a nighttime training exercise for troops of the 1st Brigade headquarters after having earlier in December 1965 deceived military authorities into approving the exercise for 2 nights to teach troops new techniques. Brigade Major at the 1st Brigade headquarters in Kaduna, Major Alfonso Keshi, absolutely unaware of the real intention of the exercise, sent memo to all units under the brigade to send troops to be part of the exercise, termed Exercise Damisa, which means Operation Leopard in English. 2 nights later, Operation Leopard metamorphosed into a full-blown military coup d'etat that claimed the lives of top politicians and military brass and ultimately shook the very foundation of Nigeria's existence. It also played a major role in the outbreak of the Nigeria Civil War in 1967. So this is it. So lot of issues that happened in the autumn of 1966, and these issues are going to be subjected into some level of analysis. I'm going to recommend books too, like the first Nigerian military coup. There are a lot of books that we recommend so that you read. You can also buy the books for your kids. Forget how young they are. Even if the child is as young as 5 years, the child, so long as the child can read, the child has the right to know. If you don't want to read because you feel you don't have time, buy it so that your children should read. Some of us started getting to know about this while we were very, very young. Very, very young. Because our parents bought books and kept these books at home. Sometimes our parents did not ask us to read these books. But because of curiosity on our own, we will read the books and they will encourage us to read. You know. As small as we were, then we were using our monies to buy newspapers. You know, to read major headlines of what was happening in Nigeria. We were buying newspapers then as young children. But now I don't know how many young child can take his money to go and buy a newspaper now, to go and buy daily to read. Though thank God for internet. Things are now better for us. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, ma.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Okay. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Yeah, grateful. I'm just so impressed.
Your name, ma?
My name is Ruth. My name is Ruth from Mangusa.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm just so impressed on this history that you are bringing.
Okay.
That brings a lot of reflection to us. Some of us who are in the primary school where we don't even know much about it. I'm so grateful about it. I'm just paying my attention on the whole issue.
Thank you very much,
madam. I am so grateful on it, sir. Yes, sir. So keep it up for us, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So please, when you see newspapers, don't think newspapers were produced so that the next day people that sell akara can use them. They are produced so that we can read them. Try to buy newspapers I remember when we were young as 14, 15 years, 13 years, we use our monies, pocket monies, to buy newspapers and read as children, as young children. I don't know if that culture still exists. If young children today buy newspapers, I don't know. But I think there'll still be some curious ones they'll still really want to buy. But thank God that we have dailies, or virtually all the major dailies in Nigeria today have online versions. And most Nigerians are conversant with phones. So you can also read newspapers online to get abreast with what's happening in the country. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. This is Adeomi calling you from Butro.
Same to you, Adeomi.
Thank God I'm able to call you today.
Yeah, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. God continue to bless you.
Amen.
You see, talking about Nigeria, there is no how you talk about Nigeria without talking how we started. Talking about the issue of amalgamation of this country.
Yeah.
But when you look at the aspect, where people believe they can no longer the issue of this, where people believe they can no longer the issue of this road, it's still there. That's why you see that it is very important to always ask issue and know the importance of it. That's why I always appreciate it, and I will conclude on this note. You see, it is beginning of war that you will know. Nobody will ever know it ends. So anyone that will call for war also, and also just as you talk about the Venezuela, that's how it is to turn out. You understand? When you don't give peace a chance, the end of it will always be violence. And that is what we are not praying for. So if you don't know the beginning of war, no, you can see the beginning of war, sorry, but the end of it, no one can talk about it. So let's give peace a chance. Let's continue to unite ourselves as a nation. Thank you, and God continue to bless you.
Thank you very much, Adeomi. Thanks a lot for being part of this. Yeah, as we try to simmer down to reflect the happenings of the 1960s, I was arguing with someone on social media. He said Nigeria is far worse now than what we had in the 60s. I said, no, that's not true. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand. Amici is my name, calling from Rampart.
Yeah, Amici, you're welcome. You're welcome once again.
Yes, thank you very much. I just missed your program last time because I traveled. I just came back this morning.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, good. You see, Mr. Ferdinand, about the books you recommend and you said children should read. First of all, I must say interest first, the encouragement from parents. I remember when I was living with my elder brother in Lagos, there is this newspaper they call Evening Times.
Yes.
It was sold for I think either 2 kobo or 2 naira, something like that. They never missed to buy it for me every day. Another newspaper, this headline. Headline is the kind of history in summary. So you see, what I'm trying to say is the parents should encourage their children to know more about history, because you cannot forget about history.
Exactly.
This is one of the greatest teachers in life. After parents, class teacher, environment, history is the fourth strongest teacher. Please, let's encourage our kids to have the interest in reading history. That's that. Then about the history you mentioned, we are going to put more light about it. One is about the first book that inherited the father's position, biological father, which I asked if Catholic arrangement encourages marriage, getting married. You said you put light to that. So we are hoping to hear that in the future.
Yeah,
thank you very much, and God
research on
Happy
that.
New Year once again.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we are making a research on that. As a matter of fact, I don't want to say some of the findings that we got recently. I don't want to say them now because. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning. My name is Franklin. I'm coming from Inter.
Okay, Franklin, you're welcome to the show. Your contribution.
Thank you. I read an article by one Owe Lekamfa. I don't know if I pronounce the name well.
Okay.
Lekamfa, Owe Lekamfa.
Okay.
The journalist. Are you getting me?
Yes.
He said the first coup in Nigeria was not the 1966 coup. The first coup actually was the palace coup where Nnamdi Azikiwe was surrounded by northern soldiers and he was made to concede power to Tafawa Balewa. I don't know how true that is, but I read an article like that. I've been trying to see where I can get that article. I've not been able to lay my hand on it.
As a matter of fact,
That
this
was
is the
when-
first time I'm hearing of anything like this.
Hello?
This is the first time I'm hearing of anything like this. But constitutionally, if you have to look at the constitution of the country at the point in time, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was supposed to be the man in charge of the country. There was supposed to be the real ruler of the country, and Nnamdi Azikiwe was supposed to be the ceremonial leader, according to the constitution of the time. So whether northern troops forced Nnamdi Azikiwe to hand over power to Abubakar Tafawa Balewa is something that is very old, and I've not heard about that before, and I've not seen that from anywhere before. I'm just hearing it for the first time. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Godwin from Zermaganda. Good morning, Ferdinand.
Okay, Godwin.
Yes,
Well done, no.
thank you. Very interesting program, I must say. And I've been so privileged, to be the first caller in this program when you started.
Thank
And
you
I
very
want to
much.
say that unless we take history serious, we will never, understand how this country is supposed to be governed, how the country is supposed to be worked. Because, like someone said, from the amalgamation of this country, that was where we started getting things wrong. However, that is not to say that we cannot make things right, as a country, as a people. Now, let me say this, Ferdinand. You see, Nigeria was once the giant of Africa. And now when I say the giant of Africa, you will agree with me that we are in control of the affairs of Africa, from the apartheid, to virtually all African affairs, especially during Babangida as the head of state. But somehow we lost it. And that is not because of anything. It is because we ourselves have not positioned this country, in a good footing that we would have controlled the affairs of Africa. And I wish that our leaders will revisit that issue. It is not enough for us to say that there shouldn't be coup. In those days when there is a coup, we go there and we make sure that we remove, the coup plotters. But it is no more like that. However, there are wounds that need to be healed in this country, especially after the Civil War. You can see that up till now, they are still not yet together as a nation. In as much as, Gowon said there is no victor and no vanquish. But then we still feel, some people are still feeling more superior than the others in this country. And that is not good. Let me go to the international affairs. You see, yesterday I was telling you about this Maduro issue and Trump issue. You see, the issue of Venezuela, it is not something that started now. And it is not all about the drugs, like I was saying yesterday. Iran, China, and Russia have already, fixed their claws on Venezuela. And America is also interested because, you see, if you don't get hold of some countries in this world, as a superpower, you will not be in control of any system in the world. So America wants Venezuela to now control Venezuela, to remove China, Russia, and Iran. Because Iran is using Venezuela. China is using Venezuela. Russia is also using Venezuela. Why? To get to America. So that is why Trump decided to go to Venezuela, and capture it. Time and space will not allow us to talk in details, but you see, it is an international power tussle that is happening in Venezuela right now. As it is, just few weeks or a week before Trump entered Venezuela, China was there. And China doesn't really go to any country with force. But the way they will come to you is in a subtle way, and they will take over your country without you even understanding what is happening. So, to me, as the president of America, I think Americans have never had a president that has the interests of America like Trump. So it is for the interest of America that Venezuela should be, captured. Well, we still talk about it as time goes on. Thank you very much, Ferdinand.
Yeah, thank you very much, Golden, for your contribution. Thanks a lot. So you can call to make your contributions. For those who don't have the number, it's 08064641536. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Mazi Okorafo. I'm calling from Blue Education Center Village. Good morning, my brother.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, when we talk about coup, whether 1966, anyone they talk about, we are talking about it to do with the military intervention, not Nigerian brand of the definition where Palace. Now, the coup in Nigeria is something that brought Nigeria to this level we are today. That is why I thank God for United Nations that says any country where there is coup that will intervene. At the end of the day, see what United Nations is doing now. It's no longer peaceful. They made that statement. Thank God we are under democratically elected government. We pray to continue that democratically elected. But the thing is that, like people are talking about Venezuela data. I think I've seen what is happening now in Iran. The serious protest is lasting up to date. Now ask yourself, is that one a problem? It's a problem to the masses. What are the messages? That food problem, population problem, education problem. Now in Nigeria, people are seeing all this. See the serious problem that's going on in Nigeria. Now, as of last week, Trump warned Iranian government, don't kill anybody. And when he said don't kill anybody, this was that people invaded police headquarters in Iran, which everybody saw. At the end of the day, those people they killed, you saw how America reacted. That is why you see Iranian government, they blame their election because Trump said any intervention is now, thank God at least Trump has said that he is the president of the whole world. Whether we like it or not, he's the president of the whole world. So I thank God. But the question is the issue of Venezuela. America said they are coming there to help them. The storage they have in that country, which is oil, that they will help them and market it for them, which is very, very good. But people are saying, some people say they are coming to Venezuela to invade their country, they are going to take the oil. And are they taking the oil free? They are paying the government. The government will use the money to salvage certain things, everything in Venezuela. Look at poverty level. I think there was the time people saw in television. The young man, he came into that office as a abracadabra way. It was not possible. The opposition party, he made the opposition party to leave Venezuela. The opposition party is outside that Venezuela. I think you know about that one. And people are not talking about that. How can somebody contest an election? What you did was to create a problem for him, look for a way how to eliminate him. The person has to leave the country with his family to another country. Does it make sense? So that is why when people are saying today, people should go back and listen very well. When another country, when America intervenes, people know that they have a purpose. Not that they want to intervene because they want to intervene. Because they have same history in that very country. Because you cannot be in your own country. Somebody in your own country will tell you will not stay in this country. That you cannot rule because you are from social tribe, you are from social religion. That is why you see America. That's why I think let God continue helping America. That's why you see my Nigeria. We pray one Hail Mary, our Father, glory to God for President Trump, so that he will do the news for the whole world, so that there will be all peace, so that there will be food, everything. Good morning, Mazio Okorafo. I know from Blue Education Center. Have a pleasant day, sir.
Mazio Okorafo, thank you very much. President Trump is president of his country, not the president of the world, though. I do not accept that, too. He's president of his own country, the United States of America. Yeah, as we await your calls on the 13th of January, let's just go internationally again. On the 13th of January 1963, coup d'etat in Togo resulted in the assassination of Togolese President Sylvanus Olympio. Shortly after midnight, Olympio and his wife were awakened by members of the military breaking into their house. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, good morning, sir. My name is Mohammed. I will be telling.
Okay, Mohammed, you're welcome to the show. Your contribution.
Thank you, sir. I want to comment about this this issue of Donald Trump. If this person has spoke, I will pray for him so that Donald Trump will come and capture his house, his wife, his family, everything he has. Then they will be helping him and paying him as the way they do in Venezuela. A president of another country invading a sovereign country, and we are here happy, saying that we are going to help them. They are going to. What does that mean? What does that mean? I pray that Donald Trump will come and capture his house and his wife and his family. It's just the way they do to Maduro. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you very much for your contribution. As I was saying about Togolese President Sylvanus Olympio, before dawn, Olympio's body was discovered by the U.S. Ambassador Leon B. Paulada, 3 feet from the door of the United States Embassy in Togo. It was the first coup d'etat in the French and British colonies in Africa that achieved independence in the 1950s and 1960s, and Olympio is remembered as the first president to be assassinated during a military coup in Africa. Hello, good morning, your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, good morning. My name is Kuzapam Cruz, calling from Johnson.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I just took my own point of view, talking about Nigeria. If United said before democracy and whatever, in 1960 after the coup, things we have had that, but now things are getting out of hand, which Trump feels, no, this is the way forward, okay, let's go forward. For instance, now if you ask the common man on the street, okay, how far we keep it, he will tell you, any way is good for him. For instance, you have very tax solution, you depend on the government, they are not there to defend you. So if the devil itself will come and use and tell you, okay, I have the way out, you don't have option, you will guide it to it.
Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution. Etienne Yadema, who will claim power in 1967 and remain in office until 2005, claimed to have personally fired the shot that killed Olympio while Olympio tried to escape. Emmanuel Bajole became the head of the government for 2 days until the military created a new government headed by Nicholas Gruzinski as president and Antoine Miachi as vice president. The assassination sent shock waves throughout Africa. Guinea, Liberia, the Ivory Coast, Tanganyika all denounced the coup and the assassination, while only Senegal and Ghana, and to a lesser extent Benin Republic, recognized the government of Gruzinski and Miachi until elections in May. The government of Togo was excluded from the Addis Ababa Conference, which formed the Organization of African Unity later that year as a result of the coup. The aftermath of the coup was decisive. The Togolese